What is up, everyone? It's Joe from GGD, and I've got a bit of a different video today because I'm going to show you how I edit my guitar playthroughs, and I'm not talking about the audio editing, which I definitely never do, by the way. No, I'm talking about the video editing. It's something a couple of people have asked me in the Facebook group, which you can find at facebook.com/group/GGD forum. Yeah, a couple of people have asked me about how I edit my guitar playthroughs, and originally I was kind of hesitant to do it because I didn't really see what I had to do with GGD, but then I figured, hang on a sec, if I show people how I edit my videos, that means more people might feel encouraged, inspired to make videos and edit them themselves, which means that we can share them and I get more content to put out on our social media, which is only a good thing. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to show you. Now, as you can see, this is a program. It's Davinci Resolve, made by Blackmagic. I used to use Adobe Premiere, but recently switched to Davinci, and I gotta say, I'm loving it. And the cool thing is, there's actually a free version of Davinci. This is the paid version, which is Davinci Resolve Studio, but there's a free version, which is just Davinci Resolve. And it's incredible. I was using the free version whilst I kind of got used to it before I bought it because I didn't want to spend the money and then regret it, whatever. But after I used the free version a bunch and got used to it and found a bunch of things I way preferred about it. There's one thing I don't think it does as well, which we can get into. But otherwise, man, Davinci Resolve's where it's at. So if you're new to video editing and you don't know where to start, I would advise getting the free version. It's great. There's a couple things you can't do on the free version, which you can do in the paid version, but not much. More than enough for what you need to get started. And it's actually the industry standard for coloring footage now. All the big studios use it, and it's extremely powerful. But we won't get into that yet. So, Davinci Resolve. I am going to start by importing my footage, which is all of these, and I'm going to drag them into the media pool. I'm going to change my frame rate because I want it to match my footage. I'm editing in 1080p. I shoot 4K footage and downscale it. The reason I do that is because I'm using the A6600 by Sony, which I love. But that 1080p footage doesn't look as good as the 4K footage. But if you shoot at 4K and then put it into a 1080p timeline, which I'm doing here, 1920 by 1080, you get more flexibility. You can zoom in on the footage without losing quality, and it just looks better to me, so that's why I do it. So, you can put it together in this cut, but I'm going to go to the edit page. This is where you kind of compile, cut, and put effects on and stuff. So over time, I've kind of developed a workflow of editing guitar playthroughs. What I like to do is drag all the footage into the timeline, line them up so they're in line with the audio. Then I go through and cut all the points at which I think I might want to change the camera angle. And then I go through and choose the camera angle. Then I go through and start adding effects, and then I color it. Cool, so I've got the audio in. So what I do now is I drag all the footage in and then I align it with the audio. So let's go ahead and do that. So these are multiple takes of me playing through the song. They all look kind of similar to begin with because it's me leaning in and pressing record. Second step is syncing all the takes up with the music. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll start from the top, which is this one. I'm going to solo the playthrough audio because I don't want to hear all the other takes audio, or else it'll sound like this, which isn't pleasant. So you can do this different ways. I'm going to mute that actually for a second. So I always kind of scrub through and then find out where my first pick hit is, which is right there. So I've got this set up to my shortcut to bring out the razor tool, which is C, and then V to go back. Has that cut, my boy? Yeah. So you can see these, when highlighted, are linked to the audio regions. If they're not, you need to click this little link here. So I'm just going to go and trim all the starts to begin with. So we're done with this, so you can disable the video track. Now I've got this view. Where's my first pick hit? That. Next camera angle, where's my first pick? There. Now you might think, like, what if the guitar playing, what if the first pick hit isn't actually the start of the video you want? And that's fine. I'm just using the first pick strum because it's a good way to sync the audio up. It's kind of annoying. I've got the, normally I have this turned on the magnet, which snaps to basically, snaps the playhead to the beginning of video files. But for this, I'm going to turn it off. There. Oh, forward 1 frame. What are we doing? There we go. Oh, that's the wrong button. Don't actually know what that did. There we go. You can zoom in a tad. Zooming is a little bit weird if you're scrolling on this program. That's done. Right, I'm going to go and do this for all the video files and then come back to you. So give me a sec. Okay, I have trimmed all of these video files to be at the first pick strum. So let's re-enable those. This button here, which looks like a camera, not a camera frame, a photo frame, disables the video track in the viewer. So you can see it just like means you don't see it in here because this is like the final view essentially. Now, what I like to do is just put the playhead at the beginning of where the guitar starts. Come on, there we go. So on this track, it starts at the very beginning. And then I'm going to put this snap button back on, and then we can just drag all of these to the playhead. And that's going to sync all these video angles up to be at the same time. I only use one camera when I shoot, so the different angles are all shot in separate takes, which is why you want to do this, and you can't just like clap or something to sync them up. You can do that if you've got multiple cameras shooting, but you'd still have to then sync it to the audio. Now, I like to have a bit of footage at the beginning, so I am going to highlight them all and just drag them back. So we can see that they're all nicely synced up now. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they're slightly out one way or the other, and then you can just manually sync that. So this video file didn't actually start at the beginning. This is another layer of the track. I cut that wrong. So this is the octave part in this there. So drag this to the playhead. That should now sync up. Yeah, I messed up the frets, so I redo that by the looks of it. Cut there. You know, sometimes when I do these playthroughs, I write the music a while ago. So sometimes I forget how to play them and have to work them out again. So yeah, when I do my playthroughs, some people record the video and guitar audio live. I don't. I'm not good enough at guitar to do that. So sort of mime the guitar playing, which is whatever. Some people don't. I do. It's just so I can ensure like that the quality of the guitar takes is really good, and also the quality of the video take is good, because that's, you know, that's just how I choose to do it. Some people get funny about people doing that, but whatever. So we have now synced up all the video takes to the audio, which now means we can go through and, well, firstly, get rid of all this stuff. I'm going to delink the link between the video files and the audio files using this link button here. We don't need that anymore. Sweet. Now there's a cool shortcut. I think it's a default shortcut on Davinci, which is Command B or Control B if you're on Windows. And what that does is it cuts all the files where the playhead is. So if I do Command B, you can see it cut them all. So what I like to do, and this is just how I do it, I just play it through, and where I think there's going to be a cut or a change of camera angle, I just press it as it's playing through. I always try and make my cuts on the beat or, around a specific musical part. I find it more satisfying to watch when the cuts are in time with the music. Again, that's sort of personal preference. This is just how I do it. So I'm going to play through the whole track and press Command B where I think there's going to be a cut. So let's do that. Sweet. So, I mean, you can see how many cuts I did there and how quick that process is. I absolutely love doing it this way. It saves a lot of time. I used to kind of go through and do it manually by hand, and it took far longer. And this way is quick and fun because you kind of play through it again. It's more musical, I find. Sometimes the cuts aren't perfectly in time. Like you can see this one. Sometimes, yeah. So you might want to then sort of go through and edit those. But we'll come across those as we edit, I'm sure. Sometimes it's like not perfectly to the eye, but when you when you analyze the waveform and the cut of the file, but when you edit it, it's close enough that you don't really notice it. And that's, yeah, a lot of video editing is like imperfect, and it's just what does the human eye actually perceive in terms of imperfections, and what you can get away with. So let's go on to the next stage of my process. So we've imported the footage, we have synced the footage to the playthrough audio, and now we have cut the footage. Next step is choosing the footage. I go through, and for each cut, I select a camera angle I want to use. I've seen people be safer in terms of like preserving takes in case you want to use a different one later. I'm a bit more brutal and like to commit. So the way I do it is I just say, nah, don't want that one, don't want that one, don't want that one. This is the beginning of the track, so I tend to use a wide angle sort of to set the tone up, or not the tone, but the frame. So that was pretty good. Let's see if there's one where I'm a bit more angry. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So let's keep that one. Now we go and choose the next camera angle. I'm actually going to stick with the first camera angle, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in. I would normally do this in the next stage of my process, but I don't want to think I've made a mistake. So I'm going to just differentiate those two clips. I might do the same here with this base take. So this is one of the things I love about Davinci is this inspection panel. On Premiere, you have it over here on the left, but you get a lot more built into this, even stabilization, lens correction, and retiming and scaling. On Premiere, those are all individual effects you have to drag in, but here in Davinci, it's all just ready to go. Like you can crop footage, as I said, stabilization, which I won't need to do on this because I used a tripod for these shoots. It's just a lot quicker for me instead of having to drag in stuff. And you've even got this smart reframe, but that's like it basically chooses the frame it thinks will be best. But I'm going to choose that for this. Thanks. Okay, computer. So now this is what I do for the whole thing. So I'm going to go through and do that, and I'll see you once I've chosen all my angles. Okay, I've gone through and chosen all my angles. So I'll just show you the angles I have chosen. That was a strange way to say that. So as you can see, it looks kind of weird. I'm busy, but we'll sort that out in a second. So let's just play it through and I'll show you what I've got. It's worth saying when I'm doing this, I'm keeping an eye out for any mistakes in my playing I might have made, which I need to then choose a different shot for. I don't like that because they're the same angle, so I'm going to change that to a different one. Cool. So those are the angles I've chosen. I'm happy with them. When I went through, I did change my mind about some of the points at which I chose to put cuts in, but you know, that's great. It came out the way that it so happened that once I was playing through, I decided I didn't want some of them. But that's fine. Now I'm going to tidy this timeline up because it's looking pretty messy. So what I do is I just basically shrink it and get rid of all the shots I'm not using. So I can see that I'm not using these because it's the way this works is the higher, it's like a vertical structure. So whatever's on top is what's going to show up here. So I can get rid of that and it's not going to stop this one from showing. But if I get rid of that one, it's then going to show this one. But I want this. So I'm going to get rid of all the shots under the shots I've chosen just to make it neater and less just gross to look at. So I'll just go through and see you once I've done this. Okay, I've done that. I sometimes screw it up and accidentally delete a take, which I didn't mean to, but I don't think I have here. So now I'm going to go and collapse the timeline, so bring it all down onto one level. So I'm going to make sure I've got the magnet snap to on, because I don't want the clips to move when I drag them down. So I just do it like this. So I'm sure... Oh, I haven't deleted these. I'm sure there's a way to do this automatically. If there is, please tell me in the comments. But this works for now. So I do it this way. It's quite satisfying seeing them all sort of slip in like Tetris. I can see I've got one there. And there we go. Look how much nicer we are. And then this stresses me out because we don't need that. Oh, God, that scared me. That audio scared me. Gosh. Right. So now we have a nice, neat timeline with all our takes lined up so beautifully. So what do we do now? Now we go and do the fun stuff, which is the effects, any sort of camera shake I want to put in, or impacts. I might want to reframe some of the shots by zooming in, rotating, cropping, stuff like that. So we're going to go through and do that. And I'll try and walk you through what I'm thinking as I'm doing it. So as I said, this is the establishing shot of the beginning. And I'm going to choose to cut in on the first bit. So I just split the track there using the razor tool. And I'm going to zoom in. And it's going to give that a little bit more impact. Happy with that. This has a lot of dead space here. So I'm going to zoom in and bring it over like that. This is where shooting in 4K and downsizing works. In Davinci, I have it set up so that when you drag your 4K footage into a 1080p timeline, it automatically essentially shrinks the 4K footage by 50%. As if I was using this zoom and doing 0.5. So it's already scaled down, which means I can zoom in without stretching pixels, basically. If I were to zoom in 2 and zoom in further, that would be stretching pixels, which I want to avoid, because then you lose definition. So I kind of go through and do another pass and just reframe everything. Is there a mistake at the beginning of that? Nope. See if I can rotate this so it's like horizontal. Zoom in because I don't want any black around it. For this bit, I'm going to do something weird with effects, like a glitchy thing, I think, because it's a glitchy sound. Match glitch with glitch. Here I want to like zoom in incrementally. So like 1 point, 1. So then let's do 1.2 for that. And then 1.3. Let's see how that looks. That's all right for me. I think I'm going to do like a zoom in on this. Slow zoom. So you can see we've got these dots here. And what these do is place a key point. A key point is like a point at which you record a set of data. And if you then go along and record another one, it's going to transition between those 2 points of data. So on this, I'm going to do a zoom. So I'm going to go to the beginning of the clip, click this dot, which says keyframe, and go to the end of the clip and zoom in a bit. I don't want to zoom in crazy amount, and you can see now it's going to zoom in between the 2 points. But I don't want it to finish prematurely, so I'm going to go in and drag this key point across. This is like a key point editor, so you can move them and you can do easing between the 2 points. Easing is it changes the curve. So you've got this like curve editor, so you can do some like weird zooms if you want. Obviously, I don't want to do that, but I do want to ease it. I do want to ease, there we go. Now that's kind of weird to me, the change between these two, because it's a similar framing, but a different, I move the camera between the two and I find that jarring. So I'm going to zoom in and try and match the framing a good amount. So that's further. So I'm going to bring this across to like there. Pretty good. Again, I want to get rid of that dead space on the left because it looks weird to me. I'm going to do my little rotatey thing and zoom in to get rid of that little black bit in the top right. Just going to zoom in a tad on that, bring me across. What to do with this shot? I might zoom out. So we've got this cool thing that here called the dynamic zoom, which basically just does that. It adds dynamic zoom, right? Perfect. I'm going to match those two, so that was 1.220. Bring that out slightly. I'm going to put that at 1.1. I'm going to go a bit more. Get rid of that dead space. Good video game. Now I'm noticing that some of these cuts are slightly off time in this section, so I'm going to go in and fix that. you kind of get a knack for noticing when things are slightly late or slightly early. And it kind of becomes, you just know without needing to analyze after a while, but that's just practice. Perfect. I do a little fade out. So that's another thing I love about Davinci is if you go on a clip, you get these little white tags at either end, and those are fades. So you can edit it. You can also like come over here and use this video transition to fade, but I don't want to do anything crazy. I might bring this forward and fade it not long after that final hit. Cool, so we're getting on. So we've done all the framing work. Now I'm going to go in and I want to add some camera shake to some of these shots. I shot this video by myself, so there's no natural camera shake. But luckily, Davinci has a dedicated camera shake effect. If you can hear my dog barking, I'm sorry. She's not being neglected. My wife is downstairs, who will look after her. Camera shake. So I tend to put like camera shake on the heavier sections to sort of, you know, evoke some heavy emotion and like, oh, it's unstable. How are we doing? We've got 47 minutes left. We're 42 minutes in. Long video, you guys. But we're getting there. So I'm going to camera shake this guy. So you just drag the effect onto the clip. And as you can see, we got camera shake. That is too extreme for me. So I'm going to go up to the effects and you can edit all these parameters. So I don't want it to move as much. I'm going to slow it down slightly. So that's just doing the motion scale and speed scale. You don't need to do much. It's quite a subtle effect I'm going for, but you notice it if it's removed. And I want to copy that effect. So you select copy, then you go paste attributes. And I'm just going to do the plugins, is it? Yeah. So I'm going to do a little stutter on this. So I'm going to go and cut. That's really annoying. It's not perfect, but it's quick enough where you shouldn't be able to really notice it. I've deleted one too many. There we go. Yeah. I'm going to zoom. What shall I do for this? I think more extreme camera shake, perhaps. But I'm going to do something else, like... let's have a look through the effects. So if you hover over these effects, it previews what that's going to look like. Not sure what effect to go for here. Let's try JPEG damage and see what parameters we can use. Looks a bit crappy. Looks quite cool. I like that. Now I'm going to do a little hit camera shake transition. As you can see here, camera shake. Now you drag it over between the two. I'm going to have that a lot shorter. And I don't want those colors. So if you go to the transition, effect, camera shake, saturation. I really wish there was a way to make it black and white. So that's pretty cool. It's a bit much. I'm going to bring the shake speed down, I think. Might put a shaky shake on this. I'm going to just paste the other one because it seems to be working nicely. Paste attributes. What's the... Oh, just Control V. Wait, what? What did I just do? Oh, Option V. My bad. So I'm going to do like a double camera shake thing here, I think. Video transitions, camera shake. Blankum. Where is it? Like that. It's pretty cool, eh? Transition, saturation on nil, contrast around there, not bring the brightness down, shake strength. Don't know what that does, but happy with that. Paste the camera shake onto there. I tend to do it on the wide angles because it makes it just look nice. And not having it on some just gives a nice sort of freshness to it. I don't want to overuse it. I say putting it on many things. But for this, I'm going to up the motion scale a bit because this is the uber heavy section. The camera shake here looks a little artificial to me. So I'm going to go and look into these. Randomness scale. I'm just going to up those a bit to add some more sort of variation to it. I'm going to copy that JPEG damage. Where was that? Because it's kind of like I'm just doing a harmonic, but it's like got a glitchy quality, right? Where was it? Here we are. So I'm going to copy that and paste it into this. Punch it in a bit for effect. Put the camera shake on there. I know I want camera shake on all of these, so I'm going to go and do it. But I'm not going to do it on the last guy. And I want to copy the JPEG damage onto these harmonics. Punch that in to differentiate the shot, otherwise it looks kind of weird. Suddenly, same shot, just looking different. I'm going to put the camera shake on there. But I'm going to bring the scale down and the speed scale down. Cool. So I'm not going to go crazy with the effect. You can do too much. I want to emphasize the video, not distract from it. Or the music even, and the playthrough. So we've done the effects. And the framing. Which leaves one thing, color. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the shots. This is the color page in Davinci. It uses something called a, I've forgotten what it's called, a node workflow, where you create nodes and you add things to them. It's different to Premiere, but it's really powerful. I'm not going to explain the node workflow because it's kind of, to really understand it, you need to kind of do a deep dive. So if you want to understand it, go and watch a video on it. If not, you can just take the concepts of what I'm doing in terms of things like white balance and then the grading and apply it in your own software. I shot this footage in the Cine 2 color gamut on Sony. So it's not true log footage. So it doesn't look as washed out as normal log footage. Again, if you're not sure what that means, give it a little YouTube. The reason I do, some people say it's not as good because it doesn't have as wide a color range, but it gets me halfway there. It means I don't have to go in and apply a LUT or lookup table, LUT. To get it to this point, I can just have it at this point color-wise. I'm kind of going to explain this, assuming you already know a bit about color. If color grading is too scary for you, don't do it. I'm sure it looks good enough. You can just export with the edit. But I'm going to go through the shots and ensure that we've got a pretty uniform color across them all. Now, for some reason, this looks a little colder than this to me. If you look at the face, it's just a bit colder. So I'm going to go here and just warm it up ever so slightly. That's probably a bit too much of the warming. 210. That's a creepy face I'm doing. I'm pretty sure that's only on those base wides. So I'm going to go through and just apply it to the base wides. 210. The reason I'm doing this is because you want the color grading, unless you're going for a specific effect, to be pretty uniform across the different angles. Color grading is kind of a dark art, and I'm very basic in my understanding of it. But I'm getting better. It takes a long time. It's just practice. Right, now, I want to, when I'm grading this, I want to grade it across all the shots. So what I'm actually going to do is add a adjustment clip. This is basically a layer you put over all the files, and it doesn't show anything, but it means you can adjust this clip and not do the adjustment on the thing below it. And that's useful because it's like non-destructive, but also if you put it over and then go into the color page, you can do an adjustment and then it applies it across all the shots, which is really cool and useful. So I'm going to start with a wide shot. Let's just choose this. And I'm going to start grading. Now what I'm going to do is start with the white balance. And if we go over here, it's already looking pretty good. You can tell because these lows, which are the darks, are all pretty much in line. The mid-tones here are all pretty balanced. And there isn't a whole lot of high-end info, but you can see the reds are slightly low on the high end, but I'm not too worried about that. So I don't really need to do much to address the white balance. I'm going to just go and put in a bunch of nodes. But let's see what it looks like if we fix up that balance here. It's pretty minor. But I like that. So what I was doing here is because I can see that this in the highs, I believe that's my guitar head. That's lower than the green and blues. So I go into the gain, which is like the highs, and just aim to balance it to where they're in a similar position. So that's looking pretty good. Now I can see that these mids are poking a bit up, so I'm going to go and balance them across there. So that's given us a pretty good white balance. So I'm going to rename this node WB for white balance. Again, like I'm doing this assuming you know a little bit about color correction. Color correction is, as I said, is its whole own thing, and I'm not going to get into like describing every bit. So if this is too much, don't worry, and you can skip it. All right, so I'm just going to show you what I do. Now I'm going to go in and start adjusting these. I'm going to pull down the darks slightly, boost the highs a bit. What is that white light? Yeah, so you can see that this like really bright light here is this light. So normally you don't want whites to clip, but I'm not bothered about that light clipping in this shot. And I just kind of do it to taste. It's a heavy track, as I said, so I'm not worried about it being like quite aggressive in terms of colors. I mean, yeah, I don't really need to do much to the temperature. It's got a pretty nice balance going on. You can sort of, if you want, stylize it like that. I don't really want to for this. Drop the shadows slightly. What does boosting the highlights do? Yeah, let's just full screen it to see what that looks like. It's a tad undersaturated, so I'm going to go in and saturate it some. Now we're looking a bit warm for my taste, so I'm going to go in and just dull the temp. The shadows are a tad dark, like you can see It's just a lot of black. I don't really mind because it's under the desk and like it doesn't, you're not that interested in stuff under the desk, but I think generally it's a tad dark. And I'm going to just bring those highlights down to kind of rebalance it. We're looking pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do a whole lot more to this, really. One thing I could try is putting some film grain on. So that's on my next node. Where's on a... So let's see. Let's bring that down to 0.5 opacity. My skin is looking kind of blotchy. I have eczema and it flares up a lot on my face, which has left my skin pigmentation sometimes a little blotchy. It's not too bad in this video, but it's a tad pink looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a node before that. Bring these guys out. And I'm going to zoom in on my face. And I'm going to select it using, why isn't that working? There we go. So I'm just selecting the tones. I should save this. Great. I'm selecting the tones I want to alter. So you can see it's selected those skin tones. It doesn't matter. And now, so if I alter stuff, it's just going to alter those tones that I've chosen. Ooh, that is creepy. Stop. That's grossing me out. And then that looks kind of weird. Obviously, I'm not going to have it that bright. But if you go here and say blur radius, it's just going to blur the selection to make it less sort of blocky. So it's looking a tad pink to me. So I'm going to go into the gamma and just fix it by bringing it slightly cooler. Sweet, guys. I'm just going to see what happens if I make it really contrasty and really blue. And make the shadows blue. What happens if I bring this back to neutral? So this is a more stylized effect. It looks pretty cool though. See the blotchiness coming back out there. That'll be the contrast doing that, I think. Yeah, so let's do slightly less. So I've made the shadows bluer. It's definitely a stylized thing, but I kind of like it. It makes things bolder and a bit more edgy. I'm going to go back to the node with that selection and just gonna bring it out slightly. I really like that film grain effect. It's just sort of adding some texture to it. Oops. So this is before all the color grading. And with it on. Off. On. I think maybe the blue is a tad too much. So I'm just going to bring it back towards the center a bit. What's So that's without the blue. It's with it. I think it's a bit much, isn't it? Maybe it's just the contrast that's too much. Yeah. Maybe a teensy bit more contrast. If you're unsure about like what's too much, what isn't too much, you can always reference other footage you like. But I think this is looking pretty good now. Wasn't in time, like cut, so we'll go in and edit it. Yes it is. Right, let's look through the whole thing, shall we? Because I think we're done. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm a little bit on the fence about the JPEG effect. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of it on this section. It's a bit cheesy. It's better. I'll keep it on the early one. Well, there we go. We've done it. Around an hour. So as you see, like once you get used to the workflow, it doesn't take long to do it. To a good standard, I think. So yeah, what have we done? We have imported the footage. We have synced the footage. We have cut the footage. We have chosen our shots. We have framed the shots in post. We have then added effects that we wanted, and then we have colored the footage. We have balanced the white balance. We have then sort of set the tones how we wanted them, added some film grain to give some nice texture. And then we have stylized the footage slightly with changing the shadows to a bit bluer, which gives it this kind of cold, more sort of grungy tone that I like. And then all you got to do is export it. I try not to do too crazy things, too crazy of edits and stuff. There's a fine line between editing for impact and style and then overstepping a mark and just making it kind of too much. But then there's a line at which it's not necessarily exciting enough. It is just a playthrough at the end of the day, so it doesn't need to be crazy exciting, but I like to add a little bit of drama just to help emphasize the emotion of the song, which we've done here. If it was a slower song, you might think about doing some like smooth crossfades between shots, less sort of jarring edits, etc. But that's why I find editing video fun. It's kind of musical in a way, especially when it's your own music. You can then emphasize the emotions in that music with how you edit the video. But there we go. So I hope you have found that interesting, insightful, and maybe even inspiring to edit your own videos. And if you do, make sure to tag us when you upload them to Instagram, and then we'll see them. If you want me to make any other sort of videos about video, tell me in the comments, and I may just do them. All right. Goodbye. Thank you very much.